A, we cannot predict the behavior of the virus, and B, we will have to negotiate our way depending on how the virus behaves. I think end of April, the virus figures will begin to plateau, come down. A repatriation mission cannot be carried out on the principles of the Gurdwara Langar Society. In order to run an airline, you need to maintain aircraft, you need to pay for ATF, you need to pay for it. When Air India is charging 1 lakh, a corresponding American carrier or a Canadian carrier is charging 3 lakh. Today, if somebody wants to troll me on that basis, it doesn't affect me. The Prime Minister did something unprecedented. He himself made the statement that MSP will continue, Mandis will continue.
Then why was the confusion there? Why do you
No, there's
think
no
that
confusion. I would ask Mr. Tharoor, did you do your homework? Did you have sufficient? All the political parties have advocated these reforms. We have a standing invitation to all our farmer friends. MSP is guaranteed. Mandis will stay. If you still have a problem, government's arms are open. We invite you for any discussion, any subject. If we may have failed to get our message across, for which I think we are willing to make up. But we mean well, not only by the people of Punjab, and particularly the Sikhs. Prime Minister has gone out of his way. And I can give you a long list of what he's done for the Sikhs. I have written 3 books. My first book, that was on the use of force. It's called Perilous Intervention. After that, I've written another book called Delusional Politics. My 4th book is already decided, but I haven't had the time. It's called The Perfect Storm. So whenever I get a little time from my ministerial responsibilities, my 4th book will come. And it's written in my mind. It looks at the history of the world 1845, 1945, and 2045.
Thank you so much, Mr. Puri, for your time today on India Podcast. For listeners and viewers, it's utmost pleasure to have you with us on the show today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Puri, we are in time again where we have the COVID rise coming around. We have cases spiking up, but I need to tell you this, and this is not flattery. This is a genuine compliment. The way the ministry has taken up the Vande Bharat mission, with the way we have seen the entire pandemic being handled by the ministry, it is beyond imagination. Now we are also again in a second phase, fear that we are surrounded by, and quite looking to tackle it well. I would like to begin by asking you at this point, how do you look at this second phase coming around, and also share the challenges that you had faced during the Vande Bharat mission?
First of all, let's spend a minute or two on the virus and the behavior of the virus. Anything that we do in civil aviation has to be qualified by a very clear understanding that A, we cannot predict the behavior of the virus, and B, we will have to negotiate our way depending on how the virus behaves. Now, in India, we started realizing the enormity of the challenge well before other countries were able to do it. And forgive me if I keep coming back to civil aviation as a sector, because that's something I have a little more knowledge on. We were the first country in the world to stop flights to China of the national carrier. Somebody asked me, but that is Air India, what about the private carrier? I said, well, you know, we're all part of the same system. And very soon the other private carrier, which is to fly from the east of India, from Kolkata, also stopped the flight.
Yes.
You could argue that perhaps we should have done that even earlier. But since we're having a discussion with a mature audience and a very discerning anchor, let me tell you, during a press conference that I had in this very room, I used the word, and I can get you the exact date, I used the word pandemic, Mahamari. One of my young colleagues sitting here, I think he's probably around this table said, but the WHO is still using the word serious epidemic or something to that effect.
In the beginning, yes.
So you are characterizing it as a pandemic. To which my response was, look, I was ambassador to the UN in Geneva when I was accredited to the World Health Organization. I've been ambassador in New York. During the 4 years or so that I spent in Geneva, as in my ambassadorial phase, overall I spent much longer. And the 5 years I spent in New York, both as PR and soon thereafter, I have seen the disruption caused by other pandemics, viruses, SARS, Ebola, H1N1. SARS had a mortality rate way beyond COVID-19, and yet COVID-19 has caused much greater devastation. In fact, the analogy, if you can get one, is of the 1918 Spanish flu.
Yes.
Now, one says it now, even though the overall numbers don't match up to Spanish flu, etc.
Yes.
Look, there are certain things we should be clear on. We locked down in time. We utilized the period of the lockdown to establish and rejuvenate our healthcare sector. We did very well in that. We were not manufacturing many of the requirements, ventilators, PPEs, this, that, and the other. We went through a very active phase of transporting medicines from outside, 1,500 tons from China and other countries. Lifeline Udan, 943 tons distributing within the country. Now, Vaccine Maitri, it's phenomenal. The time it takes to upload the medicine onto the crate, cartons onto an aircraft and offload them within 2 and 15 minutes, roughly. You can't do better than that. And you sent it. There are 193 members of the UN. I think we must have sent the vaccine. I don't have the figure of about 80 countries or so. That shows commitment. It shows international solidarity. It shows responsibility.
Mr. Puri, what were the challenges that you thought were during this mission that you carried out that we don't know about because we just see the achievement and the way it has been?
I'll come to that. I was coming because your question was specific, but I thought we would have a much better chance of being able to explain the challenges.
Totally.
Provided you get the environment. So we used the thing and then we realized that civil aviation wasn't dormant ever. 25th March it closed down. We were doing Lifeline Udan. We were bringing medicines back. We were exporting hydroxychloroquine and other things. We were already the pharmacy of the world many years ago. Now we became the vaccine and the COVID source pharmacy. Source means for medicine source. Now, there are 2 or 3 things that we had to navigate and which we got right. One is we were able to demonstrate with a certain degree of confidence that air travel as a mode of travel was a safer mode than train travel or bus travel, etc. It's not just a question of setting a narrative. It's not just because I can talk to you and I agree with each other and you got 300 people watching and they will say, this was said. No, you have to demonstrate it. One of our Air India pilots decided to take us to court and said that air transportation is risky. I'm not quoting what he said, but operative part that the middle seat should be kept vacant. Look, if you keep the middle seat vacant at a time when, as it is, very few people were wanting to fly, there was hesitation. The economics takes a turn. You add then a certain percentage because of the middle seat vacant to the ticket. I set up a committee of 3 very eminent professionals. The head of the ICMR, Professor Balram Bhargav.
Yes, of course.
My distinguished friends and professionals, Naresh Trehan and Dr. Randeep Guleria, the head of All India Institute of Medical Science. They gave a report. We accepted it. We showed it to the court. We went. Just give you an example of one challenge we had to face. Look, we started Vande Bharat on a very conservative, limited, time-bound framework. I asked my external affairs minister, I've said it many times, so this may be repetitive. I asked my friend Mr. Jaishankar, how many people do you think you'll have to be, we will have to be transporting back, evacuating or repatriating? I'm not talking about the repatriation flights from Wuhan, which Air India carried out, or from some of the other hotspots, which External Affairs paid for. I'm talking about Vande Bharat. Based on feedback that Mr. Jaishankar had received from our embassies and high commissions outside, he gave me a figure of 190,000. Now, 190,000, madam, is short of 2 lakhs. I'm a cynic at the best of times. I may not show it, but when somebody gives me a figure, I subject it to very deep examination. And I looked at it and I told my colleagues in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, welcome to this figure. This is not even a starting point. Where you are. We started in the first phase, which I think started around 7th of May. We carried only 14,700 people during the first week, whatever it was, 1 week, 10 days, around 1 month, only 14,000. You know what the figures are today? 7th May of the year of the Lord 2020. Today, the figure is close to, if not 7.8 million.
Oh my God.
78 lakhs. It should be around that. Out of which 55 lakhs, 5.5 million have come in from outside, and the other 2 million plus are the ones who've traveled from India outbound.
Getting that assurity is really a task.
No, and again you had to navigate. Somebody said, this is a repatriation mission. Poor Indians are in distress outside. Why should they be charged tickets? Hey, wait a minute. I said something in response to a question which somebody asked me, and sometimes my wife tells me, you should not use those words, but I'll repeat those words. I said, a repatriation mission cannot be carried out on the principles of the Gurdwara Langar Society. Gurdwara Langar is given because well-meaning people who believe in the faith, we go and give 10% of our earning, others contribute, and then we distribute free food. But in order to run an airline, you need to maintain aircraft, you need to pay for ATF, you need to pay for it. I was very clear from day one that Vande Bharat will be run on an affordable basis, but with tickets charged. Wow. And Anku, we charge from the Gulf to India as little as 13,500 rupees. Now, at the most turbulent time in terms of airfares, it's a very reasonable price. And the private carriers, this was an Air India fare, private carriers were charging even then 2.5 times the amount. So one criticism was, they're charging. We got over that. We said they will have to charge because they have to remain afloat. Second was affordable. When we opened long haul flights, India to US, India to Canada, everybody said, but the ticket is 1 lakh rupees one way. Hey, wait a minute, we had no choice. But again, 1 lakh rupees ticket, even in normal times, is not very much. 1 lakh ticket is what? $1,200. Okay. Now, why were we doing it? Because the plane was coming empty one way. So we had to barely break even. But I pointed out, when Air India is charging 1 lakh, a corresponding American carrier or a Canadian carrier is charging 3 lakhs. Again, all that evened out after a while, flights became more normal, etc. So that was the second challenge. One is whether civil aviation is safe. Vande Bharat, can it be free? Second challenge, no, it has to be based on prices. And then, of course, comes the usual crib. I traveled for Air India and the food was no good. Well, that's a criticism I'm willing to take on behalf of Air India or any other airline at any point of time. But when you carried 7.8 million people between Air India and our private carriers and the foreign carriers and the charter companies, today, if somebody wants to troll me on that basis, it doesn't affect me. I mean, I'm sensitive, every troll we listen to, but it's motivated criticism.
Yes. And
now, how much longer will you be able to run Vande Bharat? And my answer is very clear. Domestic civil aviation, we opened up on 25th May. I was hoping in the summer schedule on 1st of April, we'll be able to open the full 100% and remove the fare caps. But then the second wave came.
Second wave has come in.
I think end of April, the virus figures will begin to plateau, come down.
Is there a fear that if it doesn't get contained by the timeline you were suggestively thinking around it to be like April end. If it sustains to grow further, by for any reason, everybody's wishing for it to come down. Lockdowns are being implemented. Are you prepared for it to push it beyond?
I have no such fear. Let me explain to you. What you fear is the unknown. And here we are not in the unknown. We have these spikes because there were behavioral aberrations. Now, I'm not cast in the mode of saying, I told you so. Look, the real worrying point is that these new cases are coming not from those who are vulnerable. People in my age group, the senior citizens. I think they learned a lesson and started being careful. The new spike, why do we have this demand now? Vaccinate everybody. And the health secretary said, look, we'll vaccinate those who are in need, not those who want. But these are cases of younger people because I don't know what your audience is, but some of our young friends have been partying like mad. I saw pictures of Goa. I saw pictures of Dubai. I saw pictures of what's happening in the other tourist resorts. I don't want to name any.
No, no. But you're right. You're factually right.
We have brought this on ourselves. Now, no, but this new strain, look, we did the genome sequencing when this variants came. And today, it's not me, I'm a member of the GOM on the COVID virus, but the vaccine manufacturer, all the other people are saying, look, our genome sequencing demonstrates beyond doubt that the virus, as we know it, with its mutation, can be dealt with by the vaccines we have available. To me, that is assurance. And when
we are not in an uncertain situation.
We are not in an uncertain situation. We have brought it on ourselves. Now, you will tell me, but you know, you politicians are electioneering. I don't have an answer to that. But
I was coming to that.
Yeah, I know you're coming to that. So it's always safer with a bright anchor to anticipate the question and diffuse it a bit. But shoot.
But if I've come to that, my question is not that you're preparing for election the time we are going for the second strain. I'm from Bengal. I'm sitting in Calcutta. So the elections are ongoing. This is
By the way, I hope BJP is winning there. And you voted for us.
I don't think BJP has left any card unturned. And honestly, when
I like your answer, I like your answer even more. Thank you very much.
But I want your answer now. BJP has gone all out uproaring in Bengal. We are also overlooking to the coming Punjab election. But there is, we know what has happened is the new farm law, which is well justified from the BJP's point of view, has not been communicated or accepted by the farmers to the extent it should have been. Do you think there is a weak point there when it comes to the Punjab election where BJP is all geared up for Bengal? You still hold that the Punjab election might be a little not so sure ground for you now because of the farmers' new farms bill, or you can navigate through or communicate or negotiate through within the time left now?
So one of the lessons I've learned after I've joined this new profession, I say it public life. I don't call myself a politician, but I made that transition from being a civil servant, that I take one thing at a time. Where were we in Punjab? Where were we in Bengal? Okay. Much before the farm laws, we were the junior partner in an alliance. Even though we are the national party, we have a majority in this thing. Okay. Punjab has 13 Lok Sabha seats because of the peculiar nature of the alliance. We were only fighting 3, the Akali Dal was fighting 10. Put that aside. Farm laws, I'm willing to have a discussion with you, Anku, anytime you want to. Anytime, I'm willing to have a discussion, some of it now, but I think we will take up all the time on that.
We will take up farms law on an open debate someday because we want to do that with the opposition also.
Well, I'm willing to do anything, but let me tell you two things. The apprehension all along in the context of the farm laws was that some kind of a corporatization of Indian agriculture is taking place. That the poor farmer with small holdings on account of the, socio-economic policies we followed is going to be at the mercy of the corporate entities. And that those big names are buying over tracts of land, they've bought lots of godowns and the poor farmer is going to be crushed. And they identified two issues, which to them were the sine qua non of their agricultural survival. Those were the mandis,
Yes.
where they could come and sell their products, and MSP, minimum support price. We kept saying that this is a false narrative which is being produced. 2 days ago was the 41st anniversary of the founding of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And the Prime Minister said the same thing. That, look, there is a false narrative out there on the farm laws. But let me go on to two specific issues. We were told, and this development, the ordinance was, I think, passed sometimes in the first or second quarter of last year,
Yes.
May to be precise, of 2020. The legislation came in September or October. So somebody asked, so you're going to do away with MSP? So we said, says who? No, but there is this. I said, no, you see, it's like I turn around and make a proposition which is entirely false, give it currency, and then the other person has to react. So we are reacting. All right, if you say you're not doing away with the MSP, can you have that statement made at a sufficiently senior level in the government? Now, with Parliament in session, and this is an important point, the Prime Minister did something unprecedented. He himself made the statement that MSP will continue, mandis will continue.
Then why was the confusion there? Why do you
No, there's
think
no
that
confusion. I am coming to that. There is no confusion. Then they said, no, statement is not enough. He said, but statement is the level of the Prime Minister. Can you give it in writing? Then Shri Narendra Singh Tomar gave it in writing. There's a letter. It's in the public domain. Both will continue MSP. Then, because it was being fueled, you know, you have a government which, with the grace of God and the visionary leadership of the Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, is winning election after election. You can't have anything again. I was in Parliament the day the act was, the bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha. You know, the honest God's truth is that they had come to Parliament not to defeat the bill. Because if they wanted to defeat the bill, they would have had to be present there physically. You can check from the register of the Rajya Sabha how many opposition members were missing. My latest figure, if I can recollect, was 33. 33 members were missing. How could you hope to pass, rather to defeat the bill if 33 of your own members? So they did not have the number. Then, if you don't have the numbers and you sit behind your seat and press the division button, you're going to lose because we're going to win. So what they did was they created a hangama, stormed into the well of Parliament, broke the mic, used terms of endearment with different parts of the Honorable Deputy Speaker's family, used the most foul language. And then, when the vote came, okay, now you can argue with that. But fact is, the bill was passed. Then, in order to allay anxiety, we said again, go on MSP. We started the procurement season 1 week earlier. And the procurement on paddy was 20% higher than the target and 25% higher than previous year. Now,
so then how would you deal with the accusation? Suppose it comes from Dr. Tharoor on our own show, that can BJP justify that why don't they take any of these bills before they are passed to standing committee? Why BJP has maintained a record of zero movement of any of these bills to standing committee via standing committee and direct?
First of all, I don't know what Dr. Tharoor said to you on which show, but it's not that we don't send any of the bills to the standing committee. First of all, that's factually incorrect, number one. Number two, we are willing to have our record compared to any other government's record, number two. Number three, what would have happened if it had gone to the steering committee or standing committee? It would have had a debate there for 2-3 weeks and come back.
Yes, it would have got more discussions and convincing of every stakeholder.
Madam, if discussion is the issue, let me remind you, and Dr. Tharoor, who, by the way, I don't want to sound pontificatory, he was a student in St. Stephen's College when I was on the teaching faculty. I don't like to use the term that I was his teacher because you say, no. I taught him. He can turn that around. But I was a lecturer when he was a student. Okay. I want to remind him, Congress Party manifesto for the election, 2014 elections here, 2017 election in Punjab, all of them have said the same thing. So I would ask Mr. Tharoor, did you do your homework? Did you have sufficient? All the political parties have advocated these reforms. It's there in their manifestos. The Delhi government, Aam Aadmi Party, which is now making a lot of noise, they actually put the Gazette notification and notified the reform. So I think some of this agitation, look, my personal position, I am neither the agriculture minister nor the food and civil supplies minister. We have a standing invitation to all our farmer friends. MSP is guaranteed. Mandis will stay. If you still have a problem, government's arms are open. We invite you for any discussion on any subject.
But you mean you will stop the rally at least? You will. BJP will try to stop the rallies that's going on and on and on.
Even no. First of all, I don't mind. I mean, I'm a bit of an anarchist myself. I've always liked to protest. But hold on, which other country in the world? Here we are accused of eroding democracy. Give me one other country in the world which is a democracy other than India, which will allow thousands of tractors to blockade the capital city, which will hold poor people to ransom, which will hold industry to ransom, which will not allow supply lines to come. Is this democracy? Not at all. They are saying our way or the highway. Now it is a state's responsibility to maintain law and order and to ensure public order. If somebody comes in, and we are the only country in the world which says we takes it. But that is the price we pay for being the world's largest democracy. And please remind Mr. Tharoor that in the year of the Lord 1975, when I think he was still a student at St. Stephen's College, I think so, or he may have just passed out, there is only one government in the history of independent India which has curtailed civil liberties, which is the Congress government during the emergency.
Okay.
Now, institutional life, but somehow they have been undermined. Because why? Because Mr. Tharoor says so. No. I haven't heard bigger nonsense than this. And let me tell you, a government in the center which was dismissing state governments at the drop of a hat. Tell me one instance where we have done it. And I'll tell you very frankly, as a very proud member of the BJP and a proud Indian, I sometimes wonder what these state governments are doing. In Punjab, an MLA, elected MLA, was derobed the other day. My colleague, who is the Minister of State in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Som Prakash, he was subjected to, intimidation. People banged on his car. I mean, this is not conduct, and for heaven's sake, there is a civil discourse. There are political issues. If we agree, don't agree. Yesterday, I had somebody interviewing me, and she's not half as bright as you are, so I hope she can't make the connection. She was telling me something interesting. But parties oppose the law in a particular place. This is referring to some other law. I said, but we have a majority. No, but they're opposed it. So I asked her, do you want to introduce a new doctrine? Not of absolute majority, but we're not allowed to have an absolute majority. If I win 303 seats out of, the 540 plus in the Lok Sabha, this will be held against me. In a democracy, you campaign, you protest, but at the end of the day, democracy has to survive. The manner in which some of this discourse is coming, madam, is a clear invitation that people want to take the law into its own hands. And I think a duly constituted state, which has a responsibility, it owes it to its people to conduct its affairs, and we are doing it admirably.
So you think this will not come as a roadblock in your Punjab election approach this time? You are still going to convince, because your major vote bank with farmers there is not looking that confident right now, but you might make your way. Is that how you look at it? Today
we are talking in the beginning of April. I think the election in Punjab will be next year. So if you feel so inclined, you and I can have a exchange on Punjab nearer the election. I'm making a different point to you.
Totally.
I don't
get
want to.
it.
I don't want to go into the numbers. How many people in Punjab are Jats? How many people are, scheduled caste and Dalits? I don't want to get into that discussion just now.
Makes sense.
I think
So come.
we may have failed. We may have failed to get our message across, for which I think we are willing to make up. But we mean well, not only by the people of Punjab, and particularly the Sikhs. Prime Minister has gone out of his way. And I can give you a long list of what he's done for the Sikhs.
True.
Blacklist
No, we have been
ended,
seeing that.
Kartarpur corridor started, and so on and so forth.
How much are you looking for this Air India flight to take off? Because you've said either it'll be disinvestment or it'll be a closed down.
Air India is flying. Air India is a first-rate asset. My capacity to go to the finance minister and get another bailout package is next to, you know what? Privatization is not a choice. Privatization is something on which we don't have an option. Not a single person will be laid off during this period.
We are extremely thankful to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the Prime Minister Modi ji, because it was his dream to connect the two Silicon Valleys between San Francisco to Bengaluru.
Record-breaking flight, the kind of glass ceilings we talk about. She and her colleague broke them. I'm an admirer.
I am nobody. I'm just a tiny drop in the ocean.
Why has Air India brought its retirement age down to 58 years from 65?
I have no idea. Those are management decisions which don't come to the ministry.
I also have to compliment you for using that tweet where you said, "Party nahi ho rahi hai."
This new phase is amongst the younger people. Some of our young friends have been partying like mad. I saw pictures of Goa. I saw pictures of Dubai. The virus, as we know it, with its mutation, can be dealt with by the vaccines we have available. Let's be careful. Till you have unlimited supply. I am very relaxed on musical taste. Devotional songs to ghazals to Pink Floyd, talking to you and through you to my other friends and Zoya. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.